Do you ever look at someone and wonder what is going on inside their head?
I want to know why you, and I'm talking to myself here too, I identify as neurodiverse, but in a lot of ways, very able-bodied, have a lot of privilege, feel so strongly about using person-first language to the point that if somebody with a disability uses identity-first language, you will correct them.
Here's some comments I receive on the daily that, just letting you know, is ableism, autistic version. It's not a disability, it's a different ability. That's person with autism, person first.
By the way, today's look inspired by Paige Laley, awesome TikToker. Please go check her out. I am talking to all the able-bodied, neurotypical, allistic people in the room. So come on in, sit down. All right, everybody got their seat? Everybody good? Everybody comfortable? Okay, it's about to get uncomfortable, and you better get comfortable with it being uncomfortable. Sorry, not sorry. Obviously, I'm not talking to all of you. Some of you probably have no idea what I'm even talking about. Identity first, person first, what? So we're gonna break it down.
Break it down. Go ahead, give it to me.
Listen, Graham, I just can't, all right? Like, you know, one minute they want to be referred to as people with autism. One minute they want to be referred to as autistic. I don't get it. I can't keep up with it, so I'm just gonna say whatever comes out of my mouth. No, it's not what we're doing. It's okay to say person with autism sometimes, but if somebody corrects you and says, no, I'm autistic, then from then on, you are to refer to that person as being autistic. Spoiler alert, language evolves, and you better keep up. Anybody remember what happens to species that don't evolve? Anybody? One of the mechanisms of the evolution of language in the area of relational frame theory. It's called transformation of stimulus functions. And as always, when it comes to relational frame theory and relational frame theory concepts, I got a cool character and mnemonic for you. I'm calling her Terry, the transformation fairy. Whether you realize it or not, I actually talked to you a lot about transformation of stimulus functions in my All Lives Matter videos, and also talked to you about it in my video on why people won't wear masks. So let's talk about autistic person versus person with autism. Let's look at the relational frame that term person with autism kind of belongs in. If you're new here, hey, what's up? I'm Graham. I am here to try to take social issues and explain them through a behavioral lens. If that sounds interesting to you, click subscribe. Since relational frames are individual based on a person's learning history, let's use my buddy Abed from Community as our example because I love him. And he also definitely has autism. I don't think that that's like up for debate by anybody. So we don't know a ton about Abed's childhood, but we do know his mom left, and it's kind of alluded to that he feels like it's partially because he was a difficult child. So let's make some conjectures here, and I'm kind of pulling from what I have heard be the experience of a lot of parents and a lot of people who have autism. So your kid's a little bit different. They're not meeting certain milestones like you thought they would. So you take them to the doctor. To make a very long story short, doctor does some tests and they come in and say, your child has autism spectrum disorder. Side note, when I looked up a graphic for disorder for this PowerPoint, the third picture in the results was this puzzle piece one. We're not like diving deep into why the autistic community rejects the puzzle piece as a symbol, but like I don't really need to tell you. That's pretty obvious. So like as a parent, you're like, oh my God, my child has autism spectrum disorder. This is a big problem. Again, side note, first picture when I just searched problem under Google Images, first picture was this puzzle piece. Do you see what I mean? Next thing that happens, parent starts looking for a cure or treatment. Again, this isn't the story for every diagnosis, but this does happen pretty frequently. They start searching for this cure or this treatment or whatever because there's something wrong with their child. Their child is a problem. This is all in that framework of the medical model of disability, which says that this is a disorder, it's a problem, it needs to be fixed, and in order for this person to be included, we have to fix them. Abed's dad really sums this up best when he says, "My son is hard to understand," which segues us nicely into the relational frame surrounding the social model of disability. The problem here isn't that Abed is hard to understand. The problem is that his dad has a hard time understanding him. The person with the disability and the disability itself are not the issue. It's the societal barriers that are the issue. So Abed's an adult now, and he finds a community. For most autistic adults, this community is the autistic community. In Abed's community and in the autistic community, his symptoms aren't part of some medical disorder. They're just who he is. They are a part of his personality. We love Abed because he sees the world differently. He has a different relational frame that is unique and all his own, and he has a lot to bring to the table. Honestly, I don't think I'd watch the show if it weren't for Abed. He's that awesome. So now autism is this super cool thing about Abed. And it's not just a super cool thing about Abed, it's who he is and it's what makes him cool and awesome. There's a lot of other disabled and autistic YouTubers who have put this much more eloquently than I have. And when we're talking about how people with disabilities prefer to be referred to, we should defer to them.
A neurotypical way of thinking would make me somebody else entirely. "Don't let the autism define you" is a phrase that can only possibly be uttered by somebody who doesn't have to live in this head every day.
In the medical model and in Abed's childhood, there's this need to separate the disorder from the person, as if the disorder is the problem and we've got to get rid of it. And then this wonderful person will emerge. And based on that model, if we're being considerate and kind, we need to refer to Abed as a person with autism, because we don't want to talk about his disorder. We don't want to make him feel bad because of his disorder. We want to make sure he remembers that he's a person.
It's more about the people who correct other people and insist on people using person-first language in every case. To me, it just sounds so awkward like this, like you are falling over yourself to be politically correct. And to be honest, it kind of makes us stick out and others us. Talking around the word you really want to use in such an obvious way makes it sound like it's an insult or a slur.
So the stimulus, autism, has now been transformed. Terry the Trans Fairy has come in and sprinkled her magic all over the word autism and changed it from being this disordered thing to this wonderful celebrated difference and uniqueness. And for people with autism, describing themselves as autistic and identity first is kind of a symbol of that transformation of stimulus function. So don't take your ableist guilt and project what you think they should be called onto them, because they feel empowered by this language and you have to respect that. All that being said, there are autistic people and disabled people who truly do prefer person-first language. Okay, Graham, then what was the point of all of this? I just can't keep up with all this PC stuff. It's too hard. The point is that everybody has different relational frames, and how people respond to stimuli is based on their learning history. And since everybody has different learning histories and different life experiences, stimuli are gonna function for them in different ways.
Let's be like the taco girl and say, what about both? I say whatever a person wants to identify, that's the way that they want to identify. Just, be respectful of how people want to identify. If you're not sure, just ask us. We don't mind. We don't bite if you ask us a question.
All you have to do as an able-bodied neurotypical person is listen. This video is kind of special because this is the first video that I have done that is a collaboration / supplement to my beautiful fiance's work that she has been doing on neurodiversity, neurodiverse informed programming in ABA, and inclusive language. She has been busting her butt, y'all. If you see her on Facebook or in real life, actually, just kidding, you won't see her in real life because nobody sees anybody in real life anymore. But please give her a shout out and ask her about what she's been working on because it's so cool.